Thanks so much to Kevin and Amick for putting this on. Okay, this one is for you, all of you. Resolution. I will stop. I will stop it. I will stop doing it. I will stop doing it as much. I will do it less than before. I will significantly reduce the number of times during which I can be said to be author of this particular deed. When I said that I would stop it last year, I was persuaded by a newness which proved, as the hours multiplied into days, the days to weeks, the weeks to months, etc., leading inexorably to this brink, this cusp, this threshold in front of which we now find ourselves poised, not to be newness at all, but rather fecklessness, reiterative, a shabby incarnation of before. Friends, breathe in, for a better, newer newness hovers in the fresh night air. Do not mistake this for a pleasantry. When I say the air is fresh tonight, I mean that the atmosphere is new entirely, as if the night had slipped out of its husk and birthed a new thing, full of promise, void of recognition, in which my face is yet unknown, as are my problems, specifically my tendency to persist in the execution of that which I now forswear, it. I know that you know that I know that it is on account of it and the repetition of it by me that you have brought me here into the semicircle of your concern. You have furnished me with sundry writing utensils, scraps of paper, and this cord of firewood. I stand now at the edge of your man-sized pit and say unto you, it will not be done by me. When I see someone else doing it, or it happening to anyone, even in the slightest fashion, I will take the utmost measures to avoid it. I will aspirate deeply and also move with many loping strides in the opposite direction of it, and if need be, I will seal myself into the light and soundproof sarcophagus which you have so generously built for me, and when the fires of temptation have passed, though I may have burned with longing, yea, will I have resisted it, and thoughts of it will flow from my mind like water from a melted polar ice cap. And friends, though it exceeds me and contains me, thrills, destroys, and resurrects me, though it sows me with a fresh longing, no matter to what depths and lows I have been brought by it, I will stop. I will stop it. I will stop doing it. I will do it much less than before. 2 weeks into the new year is like a really weird place to be with those resolutions. Maybe you guys are doing better than I am. Okay, so I've been away for the past 4 months, and I spent a couple months at a farm in Nebraska, and so I'm working on a novel, so I thought I'd read just this little bit of the novel that is actually about a farm. Okay, this is kind of now for something completely different. One night I borrowed Ronald's Porsche, the one he got for free by working at the gas station for 3 weeks without pay, and drove 100 miles east to visit Chachi, even though she hadn't said goodbye the night she left, but had only slipped a wrinkled envelope beneath my door with directions scrawled on the back in pencil reading, "This way to the chicken farm." It was past midnight by the time I arrived at the farm town, although farm area seemed like a more accurate description for the occasional buildings that stood here and there amidst fields of unknown crops. Dirt roads peeled off the narrow highway, marked with little signs that flashed and disappeared into the night as I sped by. I held up the envelope as I drove, trying to make out Chachi's handwriting, but there were no street lights, and even the bulb in the car was burned out. On the wrinkled envelope, in penciled scratches, I could just make out the number 11. On the side of the road, a small reflective sign that appeared to be mounted on some kind of paddle winked by. I was pretty sure it said 11. I yanked the wheel to the right, and the car flew down a long, muddy driveway toward an old farmhouse next to which stood a large tin-sided barn. Chachi had mentioned something about a barn. This was good. I hit the brakes. The car slid on some mud. I revved the engine, trying to pull closer to the barn, but the tires spun in place, digging a rut in the slick earth. Mud whizzed up, splattering the windows. A silhouette appeared in the doorway of the farmhouse. My heart leapt. Was it Chachi? It was not. The unfamiliar person brandished a long shape in the direction of the car. Was it a rifle? Probably, but then again, maybe not. What did I know about rifles? Not a thing. "Who's there?" the person shouted. I could tell by the voice that it was probably a woman, an angry woman. "Did you lose your husband?" the woman yelled. "Or your dog?" I gripped the steering wheel. Clearly, these were the only two acceptable answers. But which to choose, the husband or the dog? Clearly, the woman wanted an answer right away. I rolled the window down a crack and called out, "Yes." A long second went by. The woman remained in the doorway. I remained in the car, trying to imagine being the kind of person who might obtain, then lose, a husband or a dog. I shouted out again across the quiet yard, "No!" The woman stood there silently, clutching the long thing, whatever it was. Then she yelled, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I said nothing. The woman yelled again, "I'm going to send the dog." I rolled the windows back up and slammed down on the gas. The car lurched backwards with a suck as the tires pulled out of the mud. I backed all the way down the long dirt driveway. My hands shook on the steering wheel grip. Then I backed onto the highway without checking for oncoming cars like a fool, because I was afraid of the long shape in the woman's hand and the dog. But as it turns out, I didn't hit anybody because nobody else was on the road just then. No one else had lost a husband or a dog that night on that dark stretch of highway. Thanks.